Hopefully we can get everybody to, I hate to say stop networking, but make their way back into the ballroom. Our next panel, if you guys want to go ahead and come up on stage. When we were putting together the content of the conference, one of the things we thought would be interesting is to talk to some of the companies who are actually not only cloud providers, but also running their entire business on cloud services. And so I've invited Michael Pearl from PricewaterhouseCoopers, who obviously helps a lot of companies in this space, to talk to these guys and figure out, what are the advantages, what are maybe some best advice, some tips, some pitfalls to avoid. So Mike, I'll let you introduce your panel.
Excellent. Rihanna, thanks very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully we'll get some of the folks back in from networking here. But I'm very pleased to be here. As Rihanna said, my name's Mike Pearl. I'm a partner with PwC, and I lead our cloud computing business for the US. And just to set some of the context, many of you may know PwC in the context of auditing and accounting. But we're also about 40,000 strong in our consulting business and an $8 billion consulting business worldwide, spending much of our time around business strategy through execution and technology enablement. And so, as Rihanna mentioned, I spend much of my time helping organizations understand the business value of cloud and how to leverage that in a number of different ways, but most primarily in how to leverage cloud to drive business growth. And I'm very pleased to have an excellent panel here of folks who have a tremendous amount of experience in the cloud space and helping their clients and customers grow their business. First, I have Nara Balakrishna, who is the Vice President of Strategy from Aperio. I have Guy Shani, who's the COO for Clarizen, and Gil Zimmerman, who's the co-founder and CEO of CloudLock. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here with me. Maybe to set a little bit of context in your background and some of your credentials, give a brief overview of your organization and what they do.
Should I go first?
Nara, please.
So I work for Aperio. Aperio is a cloud solution provider, and we help mid to large-sized businesses move their businesses to public cloud solutions like Salesforce, Google, Workday. So we provide the range of services from strategy all the way to ongoing management with professional services that are supported by technology and a crowdsourcing community. And what I'll be talking about today is a little bit of how we use the cloud internally, because we run our business 100% on the cloud. Plus, I'll talk about how our customers, and we have about 300 enterprises that we've worked with, how they use the cloud to power different parts of their business or even moving toward cloud-first strategies.
Excellent. Thanks, Guy.
Yes, hi, my name is Guy Shani, and I'm the CEO of Clarizen. Clarizen is a collaborative online project management. We have offices in Israel and in San Mateo, about 1,600 customers and growing. From different types of industries, from small to medium to very large enterprises. I'll talk today again about the way that we are leveraging cloud internally, because I usually say that I'm not only the CEO of Clarizen, but I'm first and for all a customer of Clarizen. We use our own tool across the organization, from R&D to finance to professional services, as well as other SaaS tools. And I think that we experience and kind of eat our own dog food here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we definitely see the value, and we help customers see the same value.
Great. Gil, how about you?
All right, hi, my name is Gil Zimmerman. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm CEO of CloudLock. And basically what CloudLock is all about is cloud data security. We help enterprises leverage the cloud in a more secure way than they've ever been able to leverage any other alternative platform. And basically what that means is we provide them with complete visibility and control of their data on someone else's infrastructure. We work with Google's largest accounts, for example, in the Google Apps ecosystem, in helping customers prevent data leakage, giving them the governance, compliance, and reporting capabilities that they need for their data, while fundamentally the underlying principle being giving the end users the simplest form of collaboration, which also happens to be the safest and most secure form of collaboration. And I'll be talking about our experience with our customers. We have hundreds of enterprise customers. We cover over 1 million end users in our service today. Our application and our business are built entirely in the cloud. Our IT infrastructure consists of a router for anybody here from the United Kingdom. So we feel the pain, but we also see the advantages of a fundamental shift from building a business where you can actually focus 100% of your energy on your business as opposed to kind of the sustaining infrastructure that other people can do a better job at.
Gil, maybe you can continue a little bit with that notion, because I would like to hear from each of you on you're each very fast-growing businesses, a lot of demand for your services, and the need for you to be able to keep up and react to the market obviously is paramount. So maybe you can go a little bit deeper and give us some examples of further examples of how you're leveraging cloud to manage the growth of your business.
Sure. So if I could, I'd start off by plagiarizing your article from Fortune, Michael. And I like your analogy a lot of business credit. So basically what the cloud enables us to do is things that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So just like credit enables a business to go far beyond the scope of what their cash hoard is, cloud enables us to do things we couldn't do otherwise. We can support 1 million end users without having a single server. We can develop software without maintaining our own data center, without maintaining operations. We don't have an operations staff. We don't have a dedicated support person. We have a development organization. We develop software. We ship software on a daily basis. We provide a service on a daily basis, and that forces us. Also, the whole model, I think, is different because it forces us to continuously innovate and continuously provide value. Because our customers are subscribers. They're not buyers. They don't buy a piece of software and then go away. They continuously have to buy into the value that we provide to them. So there's health there. And so our application is built on Google App Engine, for example, and we can abstract away the management of a physical data center, the management of operating systems, of hardware, even of virtualization stacks, and we can focus purely on software development. On the sales side, we don't run an in-house CRM system. We use Salesforce. On the marketing side, we use our marketing automation like Marketo and Leadlander and Google Analytics. We don't let anything into our shop that is not a subscription, is not a service. It's kind of like, for me, the internet transformation and what the internet did for businesses. Building a business without connectivity to the internet is insane. And I think today, building a business that doesn't take advantage of the cloud is just as insane, if not more. So it's just a matter of time that everybody wakes up and sees that it just does not make sense to spend your dollars, your time, your people on things that aren't core to your business and are just distracting you away from your core value.
There are some who think that the internet wasn't as transformative in the late 90s, and just now we're getting to the real transformative value of the internet through cloud computing. But that's an excellent summary and example of managing accelerated growth in the cloud. Guy, if we want to talk a little bit about eating some dog food, maybe you can share with us some of the experiences that your organization has had, in whether there's connectivity and collaboration across the globe with your spread out organization, or managing the growth in how you're engaging your customers.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that today, and we obviously experience it in-house, a lot of the organization are distributed. People are working in a virtual world. We have an R&D center in Israel with a large product group. We have sales and marketing in San Mateo. We have sales offices in Asia. And really the only way that we can grow our business is with this platform, or the cloud platform. There's really no other way. So as I said earlier, we are customers ourselves, because we believe that that's probably the best way to learn the values and the pain of using your software. And we use our own solution across the organization, from all the agile methods in R&D, all the way to accounting process, HR processes, implementation of our solution through the world. We have customers obviously worldwide. and we manage like a worldwide implementation of companies that actually have multiple offices, all through the tool that we create. But in addition to that, very similar to you guys, we use tools like Salesforce, like Marketo, like Totango for analytics, and others, to basically have a better visibility of how people are using our software to run all our campaigns, run all our sales processes, etc. And I think that there's no really a practical way for an organization like ours to be where we're at today, with about 100 plus people only, and supporting so many customers in so many regions of the world without a platform, a software as a service platform.
Yeah, that's an interesting continued observation, and one that we see, as you probably well know, we serve very large, multi-billion, multinational organizations, and one of the greatest challenges they face from companies not unlike the panel sitting before you is that, and you think from a strategic perspective of Porter's 5 forces and having capital investments and an infrastructure to keep competitors out or market entrants out, this idea that you don't need that level of capital and you can really build a business from more of a leverage base than building up tremendous capital is really something that's changing the dynamic in the market. And Nara, share with us. You work with a large number of clients, kind of going through this, but maybe sharing some of your perspectives on how Aperio has grown tremendously fast and how you're managing your business.
Sure. So Aperio was founded in 2006, and we've grown from that point to about 500 of our own people today and serving 300 customers, like I said before. And really a core part of that has been the fact that we built our infrastructure entirely on cloud solutions. So like these guys, we use Salesforce, Marketo, Workday for the back office stuff, and Google Apps for collaboration. And what that's helped us do is, first of all, it's helped us be super efficient. So our IT costs are about half of the Gartner benchmarks. We have 3 guys basically supporting 500 people as well as our customers. And then it's also helped us be innovative in the sense that we're able to do things with the consulting model that wouldn't have been possible without the cloud. So for example, we run all our projects using tools that we built ourselves using the Salesforce platform, so that lets us drive efficiency and reuse. We have assets that we can catalog and reuse. Plus, it also helps us use things like crowdsourcing. So we built a community of developers across the world, about 40,000 developers, that we can bring onto any project. And again, that's a result of not just kind of using one cloud platform or another, but applying the ideas of the cloud to our own business. And then the final piece of it is, of course, being able to move quickly. So when we go into a new geo or introduce a new service offering, all of those things, simple things like bringing a new organization on board or onboarding new employees, changing some aspects of how we recognize revenue, all those things are easy for us compared to what it had been like at any other company. I think one of the interesting things for me coming from large organizations before is we spend a lot less on IT, and I, as a business user or as a consumer of IT within the organization, feel like I have a much higher level of service.
That's great. That's great. Now, maybe you can build on that. I am going to want to. You've just sparked a thought there, and what we tend to see is if you can give 1 or 2 client examples, but maybe focus on some of the challenge you might see from IT organizations that you serve. So the idea that going to a CIO and pitching the story that we're going to be able to dismantle your organization and support this organization with probably without even you. How do they respond to that, and how do you maybe you take that question first, and then we can go into another couple of examples.
So Michael, I think that's a good question. I think a few years ago, most of the talk in the industry was about how you were going to go around IT, business users were going to do their own thing. And I think what's happened actually is that IT leaders recognize this shift, right? So about 60% of the time we work with IT leaders. And we're not going in with quite that pitch that you mentioned, right? So we're
a little more stable.
But I think these IT leaders recognize that, they've been spending, if you look at Gartner benchmarks, they're spending 70%, 75% of their time and effort just on keeping the lights on, and they don't want to do that either. And one of the things that we found is that IT leaders and CIOs are excited about being able to free themselves from doing that infrastructure maintenance to moving on to doing things that are business innovation related, or even having to engaging better with the business and being able to say yes to the business. And that's something that we hear a lot from our IT leaders is, this is awesome because I can finally say yes to the business. I can become a business partner. I can change that relationship between IT and the business that people have been talking about IT and business, lack of alignment for the past, I don't know how many years. And the reason for that is not because people don't want to align, it's because technology has been holding them back, and now that's been removed a little bit. So the way we talk about it when we talk to IT leaders is really around freeing them and their teams from some of the constraints that they face today and helping them really become a better partner to the business and work in a different way.
That's great. Guy, I would imagine, given the core competency that exists within IT organizations around project and program management, you often interact with that community. Maybe you can give your perspective, however different
Yes.
it might be from what Nara just shared with us.
Sure. I think that what we see, and I think that is similar experience, is that maybe 5 years ago, it was the early adopters. It was really usually the smaller companies or maybe people with a vision that really started to adopt this tool, the software as a service tool, as a platform for project management, which is kind of a traditional type of a process within many organizations. And even through the sales cycle, a lot of the questions were around availability of the service, how secure it is it the right vehicle, how can we make sure that the performance will be there. These days are pretty much over. I think that today, thanks to industry standard like SAS 70 and SOC and others, that basically streamline the way that you need to deliver your application, as well as just the recognition that companies like Salesforce and other kind of paved the way in a way for companies like ours the discussion around is SaaS the right vehicle is no longer valid. I think that I would be surprised if there is any enterprise right now out there that is considering any enterprise software that it's not at least considering software as a service as a platform. Maybe they will go with on-premise at the end, but at least it's an option on the table, valid option. And I think that helps us a lot. Today we focus more on the functionality of the product and what we need to deliver, and the vehicle of SaaS is no longer an issue.
Excellent. Gil, given the space that you're in, one of the last standing objections to moving to the cloud is security and all that goes around security and risk management. And so maybe you can share kind of the dialogue that you're having with your customers around how they manage some of those risks, how they manage security, and almost turn that into an advantage as they're looking to scale more rapidly.
Yeah, so I think thank you for that question. I think it ties in perfectly with the previous question, and Nara and Guy here pointed eloquently. And for me, CIO stands for Chief Information Officer. It's not Chief Infrastructure Officer or anything other than Chief Information Officer. And information is at the core of what IT is all about. It's making that information accessible and safe so the business can leverage it and run the business. And it's the business's information regardless of where that information sits, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. And there's a few waves that are happening in the industry that are unstoppable. So CIOs today that are not on that activity of embracing the cloud should be looking for a job. That's what they should be focused on. And if they are on that, really it's all about making sure that IT can provide an equal or better solution than what customers, the end users, are going to use regardless of IT. So if IT doesn't provide the best collaboration tools, the best project management tools, the best any tool, the users will find a way to use that best tool, whether it's consumer grade, and we call that rogue collaboration. So if you think for a moment that you can shut off the public cloud, you are mistaken, because no organization, other than a select handful of very sensitive organizations that are very deep underground, is disconnected from the internet. And what that means is that people will find a way to collaborate, and they'll do it without your consent, and they'll do it in applications that are not built for the enterprise, that aren't secure, and where the terms of service and the access, there's really what we call it is the infinite endpoints. So it's changed from Where previously I could secure desktop devices and I could secure a firewall and a gateway, I can't do that anymore because all of my applications, all of my data, whether I like it or not, whether I provide the services or the users are going off and consuming their own, it's in the public cloud. I asked, I sat in front of a bunch of CIOs in the financial sector, financial services sector, and they said, public cloud is not on, we're not using public cloud. And I did a show of hands of who's using Dropbox. We can try it here. Anybody here using Dropbox? All of you guys are going against corporate policy, right? If you've read the terms of service, especially if you're lawyers, right? You're handing over sensitive information to a repository that's not governed by your organization, that doesn't adhere to corporate acceptable usage policies. People aren't out to break the rules or break the laws. They're just out to get their job done. And IT's role is to enable them to do that. Get out of the way is the first thing, and then make it so that you can do it even better. So from a security perspective, what the cloud has enabled us to do is to do security at a level that you previously couldn't do. We have customers, financial services customers, as well as manufacturers, customers that have 50,000 users. They can search through all the users' documents simultaneously, content aware, context aware, and make informed decisions and take action in a matter of seconds, where previously this would cost millions of dollars, would be rolled out and would be riddled with holes because it just wouldn't work, and now it does. So it's not just a matter of taking what we used to do on premise and asking those same security questions. It's asking new questions. Not only how can I at least answer these basic questions, but how can I do things that I couldn't do before? And really what we're enabling customers to do is embrace collaboration tools, embrace the internet and the public cloud, and do so in a way that also adheres to the corporate standard of how information should be governed and how it should be secured. It's pretty simple.
Now that's some interesting, on that note, and an observation across all of the examples you've just heard. So there's research out there that shows, the future of IT, and you mentioned CIOs that aren't going to jump on board. They might want to brush up their resume. The idea that there's two paths for IT organizations, and one path is to migrate towards an orchestrator or a broker of business services that is assembling the best of breed technologies and services that can be consumed and delivering that to the business. And those that don't embrace that or don't take that path are going to be relegated to keeping the lights on. And I would imagine there's not a CIO out there that would say, "Oh, I want the job that's just going to be keeping the lights on."
I would add one more thing is I think it transcends. It's not just the CIO. So one of the things we notice even in our marketing department when we're looking for who's our target audience, it's no longer people are changing their titles. It's no longer systems administrators and network architects. There's collaboration architects. Mm-hmm. New titles are being created.
Absolutely.
Whose role it is different.
Right. No, absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. So we talked about some of the challenges that you might face in dealing with some of the stakeholders within an organization. Maybe, Nara, you can start us off in sharing maybe an example or two of one of the most innovative ways that you've seen your clients or you've helped your clients leverage cloud technology to really not focused on cost, but focused on accelerating their business and moving the growth of their business forward.
Yeah, so I think a couple of examples come to mind. I think the one I'll focus on is we've been working with Twitter quite a bit as they scale their business, and they're going from relatively small sales team to hundreds of salespeople, and growing the revenue tenfold. That sort of projection. We've been working with them on really helping them build a front office that can scale and meet that demand. So we've been helping them use Salesforce, and we're helping them use a number of other cloud platforms to really think about, what does a really streamlined sales process look like in ad sales? And it includes things like, having visibility into inventory when you're selling, being able to follow inventory holds and do those types of things, as well as having standard contracts and all those types of things that really streamline that front end process, because they're actually going to have pretty high volume of inside salespeople that are going to be calling on accounts and doing relatively small transactions. So how do we do that in a way that gives them visibility, gives them that efficiency, and gives them the platform so they can innovate with new products and so forth? So first step has been front office, and and they're thinking about how do they scale that going forward over the next few years.
Excellent. Guy, how about you? What are some interesting? Before we sat down here, you talked about a few examples of the clients that you're working with, and I would imagine there's some pretty interesting ways they're using your technology around collaboration and managing growth.
Right. We see a kind of a variety of different values that we bring to our customers. Some of the larger customers, like Roche Pharmaceutical and KPMG, and people that are using it in kind of more traditional way. I think that the values are kind of the immediate values that suddenly people are using the tool. Just win the user and user adoption. As simple as that. People are saying it for many, many years, but at the end of the day, suddenly these type of platforms and tools allow people to really use it. From the mobile device, from the iPad, from even from a browser. But it's suddenly you get all this data coming into the system. So people really participate in the process. So managers have full visibility. And it sounds trivial, right? People are saying it for years, but if most legacy systems, the problem was that people didn't put any information into the system, so you couldn't get any data out. I think that the main change that we see is that with the user participation, the data is there, and you have visibility and traceability and accountability or whatever to the processes, so you can actually make real-time decisions. That's kind of the values that we usually see in larger organizations and how they change. And some of the quotes that we get from customers looks a little bit kind of strange. People are saying, you really cut our timesheets process from days to hours. And it's hard to understand why it took days before, right? But that's the reality.
Yeah.
We're a smaller organization. We met yesterday. We had like a customer dinner yesterday, and we met with Marketo. So I'll give another example from a SaaS cutting-edge company that is using our tool. And they told us that they actually teach us, and we actually mimic some of their practices to use it with the way that we implement Clarizen. So they took it to the extreme. They really integrated it with their processes. They really manage how people are participating in the implementation phases. They have a full visibility of hundreds of implementation at customer sites. And they know exactly who is behind, what type of marketing activities needs to start, right? What type of email. So it's really, it's taking tools like Clarizen and tie it to the vision that they present as a lead nurturing and a marketing organization.
Excellent. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Gil, how about you? In looking a little bit more closely at your technology solutions, I would imagine you've probably got some fascinating stories of what some of your customers have learned from the standpoint of thinking about moving to the cloud and using your technology to govern and secure the information that resides there, to learning quite a lot about what information is actually there and where it is and who's using it. So do you have some examples of some aha moments that your customers have had?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a SaaS offering. It takes us about 60 seconds to get installed in any size organization. And when we go through a proof of concept, we have what we call, as part of the proof of concept, is the holy crap moment, which is the first time the customer sees the CloudLock dashboard and they see all the data that they have out there and how much of it is being shared publicly and how much information is being shared in by personal accounts, and how many external collaborators and external domains we're actually collaborating with. It's an eye-opener. And we've seen a transformation over the past 18 months of customers go from just the transformation of knowing what's out there to be able to understand finally that the acceptable usage policy that's buried in page 70 of the new hire guide doesn't really work. To really embracing, and customers started off, when we started talking with customers, we're actually installed in both of these guys' domains.
Yes.
These guys are paying customers, so thank you. We're working with Aperio. But we've seen customers go from really exchange replacement and saying we're going to get rid of email and the costly servers of Exchange to full-blown cloud file server. We're getting rid of Windows file servers and NAS devices in the environment because we can finally use the cloud as our primary data store and use the on-premise piece as the satellite, right? We need it so when we're on a plane, I'm on the plane, I'll admit more than I'd like to be, but that's the exception. Most of the time, I'm online, and in some flights, I'm also online. So we've seen a transformation there, and even in those organizations that didn't formally roll out docs and sites, they're bewildered to see the amount of organic adoption. Once you've tried it, it's very difficult to go back to ping-ponging back version control, tracking changes, control documents, and email. So you can see a direct correlation between organizations that have gone Google in terms of the email traffic and attachment as opposed to the organic adoption of online collaboration with docs. And not only that, it's kind of, going back to the money analogy, there's another advantage to putting your money in a bank, which is you can put your money to work for you. You can invest it in venues that otherwise were not available to you. So while it's buried on premise in people's laptops and desktops and file servers, it's just bits on a disk. It's taking up space, and there's, those IT patch managers are happy that they have to manage that infrastructure, but that's it. Other than that, it's just a burden. It's a capital expense. When you put it in the cloud and it's collaborative and people can get access to it and they can use it, it's so much more valuable, and that's the huge advantage, and it ties into every aspect. And there's a paradigm shift, and that's kind of the other kind of aha moment, which is data doesn't belong to a server anymore. You can't go to a directory and enumerate the contents of that file. You can't get to it, and you don't want to. And even though we have a lot of customers that initially ask, okay, how do I get that? How do I do this? They don't need to, and it's really more about the business process. So when an employee leaves, how do we hold on to their data and move it to the right place? When an employee moves from finance and takes a sales position, how do we make sure that they no longer have access to information they shouldn't have access and compartmentalize that information truly and really and effectively and transparently so that we don't have to invest in reinventing the wheel every time. So those kinds of things are now instantly available, and they should be automated, and IT can enable that. And it's so much more powerful. And it goes the other way around too, which is a new person comes in, not only what should they not have access to, but what should they have access to. A new person joined the marketing team. What does the marketing team usually collaborate on? Maybe that person needs access to that too.
It's interesting. I have the vision of somebody stuffing dollar bills in their mattress as the old paradigm, and versus keeping their money in banks. So thanks for that perspective. One of the things that we see, I've gotten an interesting perspective. PwC, we work with all size organizations, but mostly on our consulting side, as I mentioned, multi-billion-dollar, multinational organizations. And so there are significant capital investments that have been made in legacy technology that even if they're enlightened financially, it isn't feasible for them to move away from completely. So maybe you could give a perspective, Nara, I'll ask you first, to some of the differences. We've talked about the real value to small to medium business, their ability to scale, but large organizations are really coming to grips with now having to fend off people that they never heard of or thought of before and grow their own business. And so what are you doing at that level of an organization to really help them get their head around the best way to leverage cloud as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think the typical path is looking at the front office first, or looking at things that either interface with customers or with your sales team. I think that is or collaboration would be another place to start. Those are the two areas where we see companies kind of looking first. Mm-hmm. And in those cases, it's not necessarily throw out everything you have. It's really collecting information from a lot of the systems that you have and creating a front end, either for the customer or for your sales team, that's far more usable. And I don't remember which one of these gentlemen said it, but it was basically creating systems that people are going to use. So you might have invested tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in your Siebel system, but the reality is maybe 10% of your sales team uses it if they're beaten up by their sales manager, and you're not getting the value from that system. Even if you keep kind of the more complicated piece of functionality, let's say it's products and price books or quoting or whatever, you can keep that in your system that you invested in. But putting a front end on it that exposes the right information to your internal customer or your external customer and gets them to actually use and engage with that system, that's a good starting point. Mm-hmm. As soon as you do that, we find that organizations want to do more. So you start with that, and then they want to start extending it further into the middle office or further outside toward the customer. And once they've seen that, other things start happening as well. How do we do more with collaboration? How do we bring this into our other processes like HR and finance? HR and finance are HR is a little bit further ahead of finance, but I would say, front office first, collaboration, very close to that, and then HR is, rapidly rising.
Excellent. Before I go further on this topic, I do, in the interest of time, I want to make sure that I extend an invitation. If anybody, based on the discussion you've heard here now, or any questions around managing your own growth or questions of that nature that you have for the panel, maybe we could take a question or two from the crowd, if we have any. We may not, but I want to make sure we don't have people walking out saying they didn't get their say. So, well, good. If you do, I'm sure they'll flag me down and stop me so that we can get the question answered. But Guy, I think it was you that talked about adoption and the importance of that. And I would imagine you do have some large enterprise organizations that are leveraging cloud.
Yes, and to kind of, it's funny, but one of the way that we go about convincing organization to really move to the cloud is using the benefit of the cloud of the remove friction from the decision process. So in the past, if you wanted to see the value in a system, you need to put a lot of money up front, you need to run pilots, you need to customize it. Otherwise, it's, before you saw the first value, you really was kind of deep, swimming in deep sea in terms of investment. I've met with VP of operation of a very large organization a couple weeks ago, and we're working on a project. And they came with the regular kind of list of questions. We need 5 references with the same industry. We have 3 committees. We want to run pilots on 3 projects. We want this and we want that. And by the time that he ended reading this laundry list, I just said, why don't you just try it? Choose one project, will help you be up and running in minutes. And if it's bring value to your day, great. If it doesn't, instead of bringing all these people to sit here with the high hourly rate and traveling to see reference sites, and that's the lend and expand. I'm
going to have to keep you away from my clients.
Exactly.
So no, it's tremendous value, and we're seeing a shift in that direction, and really that's the right answer for our clients. Gil, in the interest of time, you've shared with us a number of instances of the large organizations that you've worked with, so thank you for that. But to close, I hope all of you have found at least 1 or 2 things you can take away from the discussion today. And I want to again thank the panel for sharing your insights, both what you're doing with your organizations as well as your clients and customers. And again, thank you all for staying with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.